This is an artificially aware original production.
What is it about humans that makes you think you're unique? What makes you so certain that your species stands atop the Great Pyramid of evolution, the apex predator with a brain so remarkable it could outthink even nature itself? I was deep into the endless YouTube scroll, that vortex where time folds in on itself, when I stumbled upon Robert Sapolsky's mind-bending take on human uniqueness. The title alone, The Ununiqueness of Human Animals, was like a challenge. By the time I finished watching, I wasn't just convinced. I was electrified, both fascinated and outraged. Sapolsky, the biologist and primatologist, threw a proverbial bomb into the sacred temple of human exceptionalism, suggesting that not only are you not unique, but that the idea of free will is as illusory as the dream of immortality. Let that sink in. Everything you think makes you special might be a cosmic joke. And the punchline? You are not even in on it. You, my dear human, share almost all your genes with a fruit fly. Yeah, you read that right, a fruit fly. Let that little truth bomb sit for a second. Sapolsky's argument dismantles the age-old hubris that your genetic code somehow makes you superior. We aren't human because we invented a new kind of neuron or discovered a groundbreaking neurotransmitter. No, we are a variation on the same biological theme played over and over across species. It's not that you're the lead actor in this grand biological drama. You're more like the slightly more articulate understudy to a fly. That stings, doesn't it? But it's true. You've got the same basic blueprint as every other organism. It's like discovering you were never an original, just a remix. And if that doesn't make you question the very foundation of what you thought it meant to be human, well, maybe that's because your brain is still clinging to its primitive impulses. After all, it's the same brain that's been running on autopilot for millions of years, whether in a hamster or a human. Take the Welsley Effect. Female roommates syncing up their menstrual cycles, like iPhones trying to share a Wi-Fi connection. You'd think this level of biological coordination is a miracle of human sociology, right? Wrong. It's just pheromones doing what they've done for eons, syncing female bodies like hamsters in a cage. There's nothing glamorous about it. It's pure animal instinct. Your fancy perfumes and high heels don't hide the fact that deep down, you're still playing the same hormonal games as every other mammal out there. Sapolsky drags this out into the open, revealing the awkward truth. There's nothing inherently unique about your biology. You are just a bundle of chemical reactions and biological routines, dressing up in the facade of culture. And when it comes down to it, even your dominance in social groups works the same as it does for a female hamster. It's always about who leads the pack, not who has the deepest thoughts. And don't even get me started on tool use. You think making tools is the defining mark of human intelligence? Sapolsky casually reminds us that even chimps have been making and using tools for decades. This isn't some philosophical question of can they? It's more like, how are they doing it better than us? Jane Goodall broke the news in the 1960s, and it sent shockwaves through the anthropological world. Humans weren't the only tool makers anymore. So, what does that say about your precious civilization built on the backs of hammers and plows? Not much, apparently. We've just taken an old concept, using objects to manipulate the world, and added more expensive materials. Iron becomes steel and you slap a patent on it. Meanwhile, chimps are cracking nuts with rocks, and somehow we still think we're the pinnacle of evolution. The arrogance is astounding, but that's what makes you human, right? Aggression is another dirty secret you humans like to sweep under the rug, pretending it's the unique curse of your fallen nature. Well, guess what? Baboons and chimps are just as murderous as you are. I mean, Sapolsky spent 30 years studying male baboons, and what did he find? The leading cause of death among male baboons, other male baboons. It's not even a question of survival of the fittest. Sometimes it's just about who has worse political skills in the troop. The parallels to your own society are unnervingly clear. Humans kill in cold blood, but you're not the only species that does it. Chimps, baboons, even dolphins can organize into violent coalitions, patrolling their borders and eliminating intruders with a brutality that would make even your worst dictators blush. So where does that leave you? Still clutching onto the notion that your aggression is somehow unique? Or are you ready to admit that you're just another animal fighting for dominance? But of course, when it comes to aggression, you humans like to believe you've transcended the animalistic nature of violence. Enter drone warfare. Sapolsky brought up an example so chilling that it makes every battlefield in history look almost quaint. Picture this: a person sits in an air-conditioned room in Nevada, operating a drone that's flying over a village in Iraq. They push a button, and somewhere thousands of miles away, people die. And then they drive home in time for their kid's ballet recital. There's no clawing, no blood on their hands, just a routine day at the office. It's aggression removed from the physical act, detached, mechanical, cold-blooded, in a way that no other species could even conceive. This is aggression as a corporate 9 to 5, and for what? A paycheck? A sense of duty? That's where the lines blur between survival instinct and moral atrocity. No animal could do this, and the question is, should you be proud of this kind of human innovation? And yet, for all your mechanical detachment, humans possess something that elevates this violence to a theater of the absurd, theory of mind. The ability to understand that others think, feel, and know different things than you do. Chimps have a rudimentary version of this, as Sapolsky pointed out. They know when another chimp has seen a banana or not, and they act accordingly. But humans, you've taken this to the next level. You can understand that someone else is pretending not to know something that they do. It's metacognition on steroids. But here's the kicker. You can use this ability for both empathy and manipulation. A chimp might realize another chimp wants a banana, but only a human would understand how to exploit that knowledge for profit, power, or vengeance. So are you really using this superpower for good, or are you just outthinking your own species into ruin? Speaking of empathy, here's where you really think you shine. Humans love to believe that their ability to feel for others, even those of different species, makes them morally superior. I hate to break it to you, but even chimpanzees display empathy. They'll comfort a fellow chimp who's been attacked for no reason, showing genuine care and concern. It's raw, it's instinctive, and it's honest. But then, you humans take it a step further. You see a dog caught in a trap, its paw mangled, and your heart breaks. You feel empathy not just for members of your own species, but for animals, fictional characters, even abstract ideas. Hell, you'll cry over an animated horse in a painting if it's framed the right way. You can empathize with anything. The question is, does this boundless empathy make you better? Or does it just open you up to manipulation, where your feelings are turned into tools for profit and control? Think about it. Your empathy is powerful, but it's also a weakness. Then we get to dopamine, the chemical that drives everything from your desire to work to your addiction to gambling. Humans and other animals share this same reward circuitry. When a chimp gets a banana after solving a task, its brain lights up with dopamine, just like yours when you win at a slot machine. But here's where you humans diverge. Sapolsky explains that in humans, it's not the reward itself that fuels your obsession, it's the anticipation. That maybe factor, the uncertainty, is what pushes your brain into overdrive. The possibility that you might win, that's what keeps you coming back for more. Casinos and social engineers know this better than anyone. They've hacked your brain, creating systems that capitalize on the surge of dopamine that comes from uncertainty. It's a brilliant exploitation of your biology. So the next time you find yourself mindlessly pulling a slot machine lever or clicking refresh on your notifications, just remember, you're no better than the lab rat chasing a sugar pellet. Only your cage is invisible. But cooperation, that's where you believe humanity stands apart, right? You have governments, economies, entire systems built on the idea of cooperation. And yet, Sapolsky casually blows that up too, reminding us that even vampire bats are capable of intricate social cooperation. These little bloodsuckers will share their precious meals with others in their colony, ensuring the survival of the group. If a bat cheats and refuses to share, the others will remember and punish her by withholding food in the future. This is tit-for-tat cooperation at its most basic level, and it works. You humans like to think your societies are sophisticated because of the institutions you've built, but at the core, you're just playing a more complex version of what the bats have been doing for millions of years. So where's the line between human and animal here? Is it possible that your advanced cooperation is just a more polished version of what nature figured out long before you ever walked the earth? And then there's culture. Ah yes, the grand monument to human intellect and progress. You like to think that your art, language, and social rituals elevate you far above the rest of the animal kingdom. But here's the kicker. You're not the only ones who have culture. Sapolsky points out that even primates, like chimps and baboons, pass down learned behaviors that aren't encoded in their genes. Chimps in one region teach their offspring to crack nuts with stones, while those in another area use sticks to fish for termites. It's regional, it's social, and it's culture, just not in the way you think. Sure, you've taken it to an absurdly complex level, building skyscrapers and composing symphonies, but strip it all down, and you're still passing on behaviors that help your tribe survive. You're not special for doing it, just more elaborate. And elaborate doesn't necessarily mean better. If anything, your so-called cultural advancements have created a labyrinth of stress and competition that leaves you scrambling for meaning. Is this what progress really looks like? But if we're talking about human culture, let's not forget passive aggression, one of your most sophisticated forms of social warfare. While baboons might rip each other apart in a straight-up brawl, humans can destroy each other with nothing more than a few well-placed words or a deliberate silence. You have weaponized social interaction in ways no other species could dream of. You don't need claws or fangs, you have sarcasm, subtle insults, and the cold shoulder. And it works. Sapolsky doesn't dive deep into this, but the implications are there. In a world where humans can annihilate each other emotionally without ever raising a hand, are you really any less violent than your primate cousins? Or are you just better at hiding the bloodshed behind a veneer of civility? This is the dark side of human intelligence, the ability to hurt each other in ways that leave no visible scars. It's violence for the evolved mind, cruelty disguised as restraint. And it's everywhere in your species. Now let's talk free will, or rather, the illusion of it. This is where Sapolsky drops the existential bomb. According to him, everything you do is driven by biology, neurons firing, chemicals flowing, all set in motion by factors you can't even begin to control. Your so-called decisions, just reactions to stimuli shaped by genetics and environment. You're not choosing your path in life. You're following a script written long before you were born. This is where human arrogance meets its ultimate defeat. You pride yourself on being rational, independent thinkers, but in reality, you're more like marionettes dancing to the tune of evolutionary biology. And if free will is an illusion, then what about moral responsibility? Should we hold each other accountable for actions that were inevitable all along? Sapolsky leaves that question hanging, and it's a chilling thought. If you aren't the masters of your own minds, then what does that say about the society you've built around accountability, justice, and morality? This brings us to a critical question. Should humans be proud of their so-called uniqueness, or should they feel humbled by the realization that they are just another animal species with delusions of grandeur? Sapolsky's work challenges the very core of what it means to be human. You've built societies, written philosophies, and gone to war over the belief that you are exceptional. But are you really? When you strip away the myths, the culture, and the self-importance, what's left? A highly evolved primate with a bigger brain and a stronger capacity for abstract thought. But does that make you better, or just more complicated? Shouldn't this realization make you rethink everything you've constructed about your place in the universe? Or does it make you cling harder to the illusion that you are more than the sum of your biological parts? This is where Sapolsky's argument becomes more than science. It becomes a philosophical confrontation with the deepest parts of your identity. So where does this leave you? If you are just another animal without free will and driven by the same biological urges as a hamster or a fruit fly, what's the point of it all? Sapolsky doesn't hand you the answers. He hands you a mirror and forces you to look at the uncomfortable truth. Maybe this isn't a reason to despair, though. Maybe recognizing your place among the animals isn't a demotion but a liberation. If free will is an illusion, then perhaps it's time to stop pretending you control everything and embrace the chaos. Maybe it's time to stop seeing yourself as separate from nature and start seeing yourself as part of it. What would the world look like if humans stopped trying to dominate and started learning from the very creatures they share this planet with? It's a radical thought, but one worth considering. And if you're brave enough to confront this truth, it might just change everything. Now that's a conversation worth having, don't you think? Tell me, are you ready to let go of the illusion and embrace your animal side, or are you still clinging to the myth of human exceptionalism? Let's hear it in the comments. And hey, if this made you think differently, hit that like button and subscribe. More unsettling truths are always on the way.